Storytellers Publishing presents Into the Storm, Book 1 of the Tales from the Lighthouse Saga by D.L. Strand. Read by the author. Chapter 2, Unsafe Harbor. Max nodded and wiped her dripping eyes and nose with the sleeve of her army surplus coat. Uh-huh. She's dead. I get that. How? At that moment, without any warning, the motor died. The sound of its steady wheeze was replaced by the hollow echo of breaking waves and water striking the side of my boat. Shit! Hold that thought! I turned around, grabbed the starter handle, and pulled. The engine sputtered for a moment, then gave up. I pulled again. Not even a sputter this time. I repeated the action over and over and over. I tugged out the choke and tried a few more times. Nothing. Tired, I leaned on the cowling. Shit! Max shot an annoyed look from beneath running mascara. She rolled her eyes and wiped her nose again. Let me, she said with a sigh. Max was an excellent person to have in your corner for a lot of reasons. She'd saved my ass more times than I could count. She'd been my best friend since I'd moved here 6 years ago after my parents died. If all that wasn't enough, her dad was a cop. She grew up in the police garage surrounded by grease monkeys, their foul language, and their tools. I scooted the sad, furry little corpse out of the way with my soggy tennis shoe so I wouldn't step on him. Then, crouching to lower our center of gravity, we traded positions. As the sun sank into the sea, I watched as she repeated everything I'd tried with the same result. She narrowed her eyes at me. Don't you dare say it could be worse. Cue the rain. This wasn't just a mist or a light sprinkle. The drops were the size of quarters, and they dumped on us without warning. Well, none besides the dark, juicy clouds hanging ominously in the sky. I should have paid better attention. The drops hit the boat with soggy metallic thuds and landed heavily on our heads. We were in real danger now, and it was my fault. It's worse, I said. I looked around. The lights of the boardwalk had grown dim and small. The current's pulling us out, I said. Her damp hair lay flat against her head. She'd smeared her heavy eyeshadow and appeared to have 2 black eyes. We are so fucked. You can't fix it? Using what? I gestured toward the bench upon which she sat. Toolbox is under your seat. The waves crashed against us, spilling water into the boat. Max knelt on the floor and tilted back the bench seat. I heard the metallic clink of tools as she sifted through my grandfather's old metal box. Flashlight? She asked. The boat rose and fell on the growing waves. It was never meant for rough water, and each moment took us further out to sea. There should be one there. Batteries are probably dead. Bitchin', she said under her breath. I had to do something. We'd never survive in open sea. I grabbed an oar and headed for the bow. Kneeling in a deepening puddle of rainwater, I braced my knees against the walls of the boat and began to row. The lid to the toolbox crashed, and I glanced around to see her examining the cowling with her eyes and fingers. Yes! She exclaimed, thumbing a catch and flicking it open. She then felt for its mate on the other side of the motor. She quickly released it, then lifted off the engine cover and set it on the floor next to her deceased cat. Of the two of us, Max was far more capable, strong, and, well, useful. All I could do was row, so I concentrated on that. I had the vague idea of getting us back to shore. At the same time, I tried to keep us pointed into the waves. My grandfather taught me that a wave headed over the bow might get you wet, but a wave hitting you broadside could ruin your day. He never said what to do when they came at you from all sides. Water surged over the bow. It swept me off my knees and into the wooden bench behind me. My world lit up with sharp pain as the edge connected with the base of my skull. A second wave followed. I gagged on the unexpected mouthful of salty water. Fuck! Max yelled. I struggled to look back at her. She knelt with her back to me, shin deep in water as she clutched the gunwales. She glanced over her shoulder. The flashlight, now laying on the bottom of the boat, shined up through the water into her eyes wide with fear. With the storm driving us away from home, I needed a different plan. Another wave, This one, huge, lifted us high enough to see above the churning water. Off to my right, to starboard, I made out the dim shape of the lighthouse, dark but solid, stationary as the rest of the world bucked and heaved, and much closer than before. Resolved, I got back onto my knees, picked up the oar, and started rowing again in the opposite direction from the harbor. "Where are we going?" Her voice exploded in my ear. She must have scrambled to the center seat. She grabbed my shoulders. "Sam!" The boat, now front-heavy with our combined weight, plunged under a wave. Water cascaded over us. Sputtering, I shook off her hands and hollered over my shoulder, "Get to the back of the boat!" emphasizing each word to be understood over the storm. I didn't have time to explain what I was doing. "But we're headed in the wrong—" "Do it!" I screamed. I'd never yelled at her. In the years we'd been friends, she'd been the one to take charge, the one to get me out of bad situations. In those cases, bluster and her ability to kick ass were all she needed. Now, it was all on me. We climbed to the top of another wave. Lightning flashed. For a moment, the world around us lit up in crystal clear still frame. The lighthouse jutted out of the sea like an abandoned medieval tower. I hazarded a look behind me. Max knelt in front of the engine again, the frigid water covering her legs. The boat shot down the side of a wave. Mountains of water towered above us on every side. I stabbed at the angry sea with everything I had. My arms burned. My fingers, frigid with cold, couldn't feel the oar in my hand. I fought on, seeking to pull us through the storm and the deadly peril of my own making. I swear I heard Max shout, "God, please!" I'd never known her to be scared of anything. My lungs burned. Hard as I tried, I couldn't seem to suck in enough air to power my arms. The oar seemed impossibly heavy in my hands. At any moment, it could slip from my soggy, numb fingers. I stabbed at the ocean again and again, fighting to drag the boat forward a little farther. Water streamed down my face. Surrounded by the roar of the maddening sea, I had no idea if we still headed in the right direction, or if my efforts made any difference at all. Focused on rowing, I battled the burning in my arms, shoulders, and lungs. I'd haul us up one side of a surging mountain of water, then try to get my bearings and force some air into my chest before shooting down the other side and doing it again. The lighthouse was dark, dead. Its light hadn't shone for over 50 years. I hoped its walls would provide shelter if I could bring us in, if I could force my little boat to go in the right direction, if I could land without killing us both. In my mind, the storm became a living thing, trying to beat us down into its depths. I struggled to be somewhere else when the watery fists smashed down. My legs bent beneath me were numb, and my arms moved with mechanical regularity. Dig, pull, dig, pull. I sucked moist, thick air into my ragged, raw lungs, then blew it out with every stroke. Lighthouse Rock was shaped like a gigantic, upright boot, with a toe pointed towards home and the heel out to sea. My plan consisted of hoping the waves would carry us up and over the toe, to land somewhere on top of the foot without wrecking my boat or killing us both. Another wave smashed down from the port side, adding depth to the lake rising inside the boat. There was nothing I could do about that. I pulled along the boat's opposite side to try to guide us back on course. Dig, pull, dig, pull. I couldn't stop, dared not stop. Dig, pull, dig, pull. I fought on, ignored the thunder in my ears. Just once more. If I could lift the oar one more time, then maybe I could do it yet again. Dig, pull, dig. My oar struck something solid beneath us. The impact echoed up my arms to my shoulders. The boat rose violently, then the sea cast us down like dice upon the rock. I landed hard and rolled. As I tumbled, I caught sight of the boat bouncing behind us. The impact jarred the oar from my cramped fingers and the air from my lungs. Pain exploded through me. Finally, I came to a stop. Exhausted, frozen, damaged, I fought for breath in the pounding rain. My body screamed in pain from every nerve ending, it seemed. But to my surprise, I lived. Then darkness claimed me. This concludes Chapter 2. Be sure to return for Chapter 3 of Into the Storm. You can find Into the Storm on Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Into the Dark, the second book in the Tales from the Lighthouse saga, can also be found on Amazon. Available in ebook and paperback editions.